Let's talk about the Switch port situation. So if you've seen the last Nintendo Direct, you will know Nintendo announced even more ports for the Nintendo Switch. It kind of felt like in the last Nintendo Direct, it was ports on ports on ports for the Nintendo Switch. And just to put this in perspective for you guys, I'm going to be naming every single port that's currently out on the Nintendo Switch, and I'm also going to be naming all the ports that are coming to the Switch, so you can kind of see how many ports the Nintendo Switch already has or is getting in the near future. We have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Pokken Tournament DX, Lego City Undercover, Skyrim, Doom, LA Noire, Bayonetta 1 and 2, The World Ends With You, Dark Souls, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Payday 2, Hyrule Warriors. And Hyrule Warriors is questionable just because Hyrule Warriors was a game that was already ported over to the 3DS, and now they're porting it for a second time, so that's kind of questionable. And you also have to take in consideration as well, there are going to be more ports to the Nintendo Switch in the near future. There's already a lot of rumors going around that GTA 5 may be coming to the Nintendo Switch in the near future, and that is very possible just because, of course, Rockstar already ported LA Noire over to the Switch, so I wouldn't see why they couldn't port GTA 5 over to the Switch. That did run on last generation, the PS3 and the Xbox 360, so it would make sense that they would want to port it over to the Nintendo Switch because GTA is a game that still sells really well. Even though that game's been on the market since 2013, it still sells very well. Also, rumors that Fallout 4 might be coming, and of course, we don't even know if the new Smash Brothers game is going to be a port or is it going to be a totally new Smash Brothers game. There was a thing by Sakurai like 3 or 4 years ago. He did say that he was totally done with the series and he wanted to move on to different projects, so there's no way to know if it's going to be a new Smash game or is it going to be a port of that game. And you also have to realize that Nintendo is known for making remakes of all of the Pokemon games. I know Nintendo is not considering this a handheld console, but anyway, they do like porting over Pokemon games, so I don't see why they wouldn't want to port over one of the DS Pokemon games over to the Nintendo Switch, so we'll have another remake of another Pokemon game. So you can see that the possibilities for more Switch ports in the near future are very high, just because you have to realize also the Nintendo Switch is in a very weird situation where the last Nintendo system, the Wii U, just really tanked and really didn't sell well. It only sold about 13 million units, and that's not really great if you take in consideration other consoles on the market that have sold really well. 13 million in the gaming industry is considered a failure, so since it failed, then they're going to try to port a lot of these Wii U games over to the Nintendo Switch. If the Nintendo Wii U didn't sell really bad, then most likely a lot of these ports that we're getting on the Nintendo Switch would not even exist. We would probably have possibly a new Mario Kart game. A lot of these games just would not be ported over. So you can see a lot of these ports have to do with just the fact that the Wii U sold really bad and they're trying to make up for the lack of sales on the Wii U. And since these games are pretty much already built, they just need to change the way that they run. They can easily just change the code of these Wii U games and port them over to the Switch, and it's very easy. And besides, they're really just filler games for the meantime. They're games that they can just easily throw up on the Nintendo Switch, make a lot of profit on, and then they can still release other games on the Nintendo Switch. A lot of people are in two different camps when it comes to these remakes on the Switch or ports on the Switch. They either hate these ports or they love these ports. Now, of course, it'll all depend on the person. Did they play these games in the past on their native consoles, or did they not play these games, and how much did they play these games in the past to warrant an upgrade of these games? So it all really does depend. It kind of sucks too that some of these ports they're actually charging full price for as well. I know like the Skyrim port, they're charging $60 for this game, brand new, which is absolutely crazy just because this game is a very, very old game. It came out, I think, in 2011 on last generation, the Xbox 360 and PS3. Also, another game that was full price was Lego City Undercover, and Lego City Undercover came out on the Wii U, and they're still charging full price for this game. The good news is, with a lot of these ports coming to the Nintendo Switch, is the fact that even though you might be paying $60 for some of these ports, you do have to realize the good news is a lot of these ports aren't just going to be ports ported over to the Switch. They're actually giving us additional content that weren't in the regular releases of these games. For instance, like Hyrule Warriors is going to be getting all the DLCs from both versions, the 3DS and the Wii U, so you're pretty much going to be getting the definitive version of Hyrule Warriors. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was a game that they pretty much just added new characters and a new battle mode. Also, some other games like Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze, they're adding an extra character. They're trying to make people feel like if they've already bought these games before and they really love them and they want to make a switch to the Switch, get it, make a switch to the Switch, they're actually going to be able to get a little bit more gameplay out of these games instead of just making them pay for the same game twice. But also you have to realize as well, outside of the additional content that a lot of these games are getting that are ported over to the Switch, you're going to be able to take these games on the go, whereas a lot of these games, which were Wii U games, you weren't able to take these fully on the go. You can kind of like move around your house or whatnot and you can still play these games, but you weren't able to play these games outside of your house. So even though you may be paying $60 for some of these remake games or port games to the Switch, you are going to be able to take these on the go. So it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone. It's also nice that some developers realize that a lot of these ports aren't worth $60. I don't know how true this is. I heard this from my friend. I didn't really research it out, but I heard that the new Dark Souls game that's going to be remastered on the Switch is not going to be a full price game. It's only going to be going at $40, and that's very good for a port considering it is an old game which was on I think 360 and PS3. It's very, very old, so it really depends. But honestly, if you were to ask me, is this bad or good for the Switch, honestly I think it's personally a good thing. Of course, there's no real downside to this thing. It just means the Switch gets more games. Who can disagree that more games are better? As long as you have more games to play, the better. And don't forget, Nintendo's not going to skimp out on the big AAA new games for the Switch. Those are always coming. They're just having these filler games in the meantime since they don't really want to do anything else, and since the Wii U sold bad, it just makes sense from a business standpoint that Nintendo would want to already have these games that are totally completed on the Wii U, porting them over to the Switch, and then they're fully functional and fully playable, and they're still going that extra step, like I said, with a lot of these games that add a lot of functionality that wasn't in the previous releases of these games, so you feel like you're getting a little bit extra, more content with some of these releases. Well, those are just my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch port situation. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.